Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We have once again returning guest, Mr. Steve Previch, CEO of New Fire Energy, who's going to talk about all the newest technologies and different questions regarding the subject matter at hand as we're getting closer and closer to the World's Fair and all that that will be affording, which we'll also be asking him. So if you are new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share so that others can gain in the knowledge you're afforded. As you know, Steve is the CEO of New Fire Energy with over 20 years experience in this company and many, many decades in sales and marketing, but also primarily in the areas of technology and future technologies at that. Steve, how are you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, John. And yourself?
I'm well, thanks, for a Wednesday. Just pouring through as it's raining out today, certainly much needed. So there's so much that I want to talk to you about. Obviously, on the heels of our last conversation, we had a really good response from our audience, as you know, and hopefully yours as well. And so we wanted to continue to explore the space. So I want to direct your attention, Steve, to this first screen. If you just bear with me a moment here, I will pull it up and get that out here for you. Let me know when you can see this. This is coming off of Ingersoll Lockwood's website, and they're talking about the World's Fair and pioneering frontiers, as you can see the picture here. So, wanted to get your impressions of the World's Fair that's upcoming at the end of May. What do you see that holds in terms of promise of unveiling to the world all these suppressed technologies? What do you expect to come out of that? And how does New Fire Energy play a role in that, if anything?
Well, it's any time you have, a way to display to the public the new technologies so that they can, at least try to give a perceptive value to what's happening here in the near future, it's always a good thing. As far as the World's Fair, we won't be participating in it, but it's like I said, once again, it's a good display of the technologies and how the world is changing, especially now at such a rapid pace. I feel that, with the technologies that we're involved with, as well as AI, as I called before, the trifecta of technologies, we're talking about, AI, AGI, imbued humanoids, carbon fiber, I mean, almost indestructible if you want to make them that way, with quantum computing. Now, quantum computing comes in two ways. One, software, which helps to eliminate some of the error codes that happen when you expand your qubits, which are, defined in quantum computers as the up and down. And then at the same time, you're talking about, new energy, which I'm, immersed in. And this technology has to do with low energy nuclear reaction and 0 point energy. And I'll explain those a little further as we go along. But as far as the World's Fair goes, I think it's an amazing thing. I mean, it's been around forever. And, for people to see how bright their future can be with the, technologies that allow them to live their life and take care of a lot of the mundane functions that would allow us to, find more time to be human, more time to be creative, our ideas, that we can spread around the world in an instant. So being more innovative.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just good to explore that space. And like I agree with you. I think anytime that you can be transparent with people and finally reveal to them all the possibilities that expand their mind share, but beyond what they thought, particularly the older generations, where you last said in our last podcast, tend to be the most challenging to bring them along. I think this will help facilitate an understanding that it can benefit them and not just my generation or even younger generations going forward in that effort that you were talking about before. So as I bring you into the next screenshot, let's see if I can do this and show this one here. Okay. So you were talking about AI and so forth. So I thought this was an interesting article on your Substack on New Fire regarding superintelligence. And there's a lot of concern that people have about Elon Musk and is he trying to replace the human heart, the human soul with hybrid robotics and humans and such, and what does that do to the job market? And you've explored that on your website. So can you talk a little bit about that? What is your perspective on that? And you're asking this question here, this is being broached, excuse me. Will there be a White House in 5 years? What do you mean by that? And how do you see all this playing out?
Well, I think the detachment a lot of people aren't seeing with the techno bros or techno brats, depending how you want to call them. They're up there because once they are detached, I think, on a financial side of it, and whether they're in queue with what's happening. The reason why they're there, whispering in Trump's ear, this is what's going to happen. We already know that exponentially the technologies of AI, quantum energies are all starting to leapfrog each
Mhm.
other, and in that realm, they have a different perspective. So when they're talking about coming into the government, which I had spoken about the last time, they're talking about coming in and stripping everything down to its the lowest barrier and finding more control. Because see, this isn't about money. This is about control. Because once you get up to, 5, 10, 100, 200, $500 billion, it's more of control. And a
Mhm.
lot of them want to see control because, well, one, AI is all about control, control of your finances, your business, making it easier, streamlining everything. So the more efficient that we find Elon and what he's trying to achieve, I think that the techno bros need to be a little more straightforward with what's going on in their direction. We they what people think in their perspective, they think everybody thinks, and a lot of people do that. Not everybody, but a lot of people do that because you're not in their head, but they maybe assume that the world revolves around what they know. That's the old "I'm the center of the universe," feeling. But
Mm.
realistically, they are up there. They are going to automate. They are going to make AI, AGI. They want the big bucks. They want that 500 billion for Stargate. They want the data centers to be collected together. But what's happening there is there's a total of five different black boxes out there. These small black boxes are, you can go from Meta to OpenAI to Google to Microsoft.
Fort Knox is about to be audited, and that's imminent. And you're going to see that gold reserves are little to none. What do you think that'll do to the price of gold? And with silver being ransacked with COMEX on the markets, that's sure to follow as well. The only question is, are you going to take action or not? If you haven't, what are you waiting for? And if you have, please take a moment to visit one of our great sponsors here below, the link in the description, and call for the information. It's free. The consultation is free. The cost of not taking advantage of this has lasting consequences, folks. Please tell them John and Chris sent you. You'll be more than happy that you did.
You take those black boxes, let's say there's five of them, and they're all separate. They all have different identities and how they process their information. And we can see that even today. Yes, they are all structurally LLMs, language models that utilize certain processes and procedures that allow them to, regurgitate the information and put it out in a very strategic, well defined format that allows us to interact with our environment even better. So, knowing that those five black boxes are all together separate, there's one big black box out there that is actually watching over all of them. That's the NSA. NSA, obviously a government agency that is very secretive, but they have their hands in every single one of those. And if you remember with OpenAI, when they went to 3.5 and came out and said, oh my goodness, we just broke through to AGI, we need to contact the NSA. Because this is, obviously a security risk for the US if we find that this technology is doing what we think it is. It didn't develop that way so quickly, but they were onto something big, and we're finding that out more and more every day. So what they did is they hired the previous NSA chief, and he came in and he's working for OpenAI just to make sure that they don't breach any type of national security risks with technology that could make, let's say, cryptography, worthless. I mean, you could break every code in an instant now, and that, of course, is the concern we see today with a lot of the chips that are coming out from the main three, Microsoft, Google. China just came out, and they're delving into double dimensions or however that's occurring, which we can get into some other time. But that in itself is scary because they believe that they can now break cryptography. I pinpointed as June of this year for Q Day. It's called Q Day. That's the day you actually break the code. And that's the day, of course, anyways, accelerating that technology with AGI, which they believe they're in right now, maybe not completely matured, but that technology coupled with that speed and that expansion, and with energy being, abundant, limitless, which we're on the cusp of with, our private equity fund, we're finding that all of these come together. This synergy, this trifecta, is it's at the forefront. And I'm seeing that the White House in 5 years. I mean, right now, they're accelerating it because Elon's going to Trump. You've got OpenAI going to Trump. That's why they're getting the 500 billion. They convinced him, whether or the people that work with him. If you don't do this, you're going to find yourself, because once you hit AGI, full AGI, it's 2 months to 3 months predicted to be ASI, that's superior intelligence. It's just exponential. So as Trump is thinking, well, geez, wow, and then Elon saying, we don't need all this around here. Let's strip everything. And the way to fund this, if I don't get the 500 billion that the other three got, Larry with Oracle and, OpenAI, Sam Altman, and then Google, they're all there willing to accept that 500 billion. And then of course, Elon Musk is like, well, wait a minute, you don't have that much money. How else can we do it? Well, he comes in, he strips everything down and replaces it with AI, his super center, because now he's getting the Verizon contract and he's getting other contracts. So he is going to replace everything with AI, AGI, and he's going to have reins on that. That's a control thing. I want control all of it. So when I say the White House won't be here in 5 years, well, you're going to replace, bureaucrats. You're going to replace politicians. You're going to replace. I mean, that's what's happening now. We're starting to replace them, but I'm not sure that Congress fully understands. You guys will be replaced as well.
Yeah.
Because a fully functional AGI government doesn't need it. Right back to where we were supposed to begin. Everybody's supposed to be a clerk. Maybe Trump, maybe his grandeur is a general clerk. He's been named that before. So we're talking about, there's no reason when you have something that's smarter than us, more efficient, Department of Government efficiencies. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you why that's happening. Palantir, which originally came from they call them the PayPal mafia, but that's just a name thrown out there. But they're all PayPal guys from South Africa. And Palantir is the largest integrator of AI into the world and into military projects, into military bases, into military everything. And that's why that's been a big attraction here lately. And actually, you saw some of the senators or congressmen buying that stock right there when, Elon was coming in the gate. So it's like, wait a minute, Palantir, his buddy is over, which was an original PayPal guy, is running Palantir, one of the top. I don't think he's the CEO right now, but I do know that even the techno savvy, they call them the young brats. I just call them techno guys that are savvy, and they're young, and they are actually, if you look at it, recruited from like Palantir or some of these military projects. Not that they were, immersed into it for years because they're young, but you start to see all the connections and going, wow, this is just about control. And that's what AGI will be, complete control of everything. So that's how that accumulates. And that's why I said, the White House probably won't be here in 5 years. There'll be no reason for it. Right. Because as we move forward, that's where we're at. So.
No, I agree. And then ultimately these senators and corrupt politicians are going to be voting themselves out of a job. And it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, really.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? So Steve, let's stay on this for a second here, because you're bringing up some really important touch points. I saw an article recently on Elon Musk on X. I don't know if you caught it, but it really caught my attention and that of our team as well, respectively. And that would be, there's been the discussion of universal basic income for a while because of the aforementioned items you just discussed. But he said, we're not going to have universal, we're going to have high basic income. But a lot of people will feel useless because we're going to be we're going to be replacing a lot of redundancy of jobs, which removes the illegal immigration factor, which also lowers the cost of society. But then you displace a lot of people who had those governmental positions and or a variety of positions, whether it's, landscaping, maintenance, janitorial, what have you. But this also presents an opportunity, I believe, for people to go pursue their true passions for which they were designed by God, and not just doing a mundane corporate job, which nothing wrong with that per se, but I don't believe that the lion's share of people fit into that bucket. I know I don't, and I know you don't. So, what is your take on that with Elon saying that? Do you ultimately think that's a good thing? What's your perspective on it?
Well, we're at a point right now where we find this bridge where we go from one side of the island to another. And in that bridge, my concern is that I think Elon and his ambitions in order to make the government more efficient through AI, that is the major concern. Why not bring everybody over comfortably? We have, how can you herd, as they say, the old saying, herd a bunch of cats, herd a bunch of billionaires to say, hey, give up 1 month of your income, your interest payments alone, and take care of all of this, and try not to justify it with Elon turning the government into a AI machine, and that in itself is the concern. You should be able to bridge everyone over without too much pain. He did state, hey, it's not going to be very well for a lot of people in the next few years, but he knows that's why we're bridging over to AGI, which will,
Mm-hmm.
the humanoids will be able to do all the work for you. But there's the catch 22. So I've got to walk softly with this. I think it's selfish because we're looking short-sighted, even though exponentially the technology is moving at such a pace. I mean, it's hard to follow it, and I follow it daily. But I think you shouldn't really look for the government in order to justify the expansion of your AGI net. And it's called the World Simulation Engine. Actually, NVIDIA kind of coined that phrase, I believe. The World Simulation Engine is when you drop the NSA and they say, okay, we got 5 black boxes, you're the main black box. If NSA or all these 5 together got together at one time, we would accomplish what I think Elon's trying to do. And that is bring all these together and you will automatically be able to leapfrog into ASI because of all their technologies working together. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same with, even our technology that we're involved in. And not all the physicists and scientists all want to work together because they want the money drop and they want the recognition most of all. So, but control and attention. So right now we see Elon Musk and we see the techno guys all racing amongst each other. Elon's even arguing with OpenAI. Hey, you should have been, free. You should have been, a charity. You should have been whatever. I mean, saying that you were, a tax-free organization, and he lost the ball on that. He always thought they would remain that way, and they didn't. They went for profit. LLC, boom, we're now at a profit, and then locked Elon out of getting all that free technology. Therefore, he moved over what roughly $7 billion from Tesla over to NVIDIA just to get those, processors. So we're looking at a change that's occurring that doesn't need to leave everybody stressed. Everybody's cortisol levels in the United States is through the roof. Unless you're a billionaire, you're getting tax breaks and you're getting a lot more back to you. um, I'm not trying to demonize any side of it, but the facts of the matter is that we need to bridge everybody over. We need to make it comfortable for everyone. There's no reason why not, because they're all saying it's going to be a utopia in a few years where everybody will have their humanoids and they'll do everything for them. But the problem you run in here too, though, is the fiat currencies. You're running fiat currencies that will lose their attraction. Competing values will come into play. You will have to fractionalize assets. You will have to tokenize. You will have to bring that in order to value, just like in-ground assets are the main key right now with countries fighting over Eastern Ukraine. I mean, that's all about the minerals. So
Mm-hmm.
where are the real assets now? Well, they're not in something that, I like to call it faith in money is what it actually is. Of course, that's where free will comes from, faith first, then free will. But the faith that they have in these currencies is exactly what it is. Roughly $300 trillion in debt internationally. Look at the interest payments alone that we pay in the US, and the money that they're uncovering is, over expenses and, waste. That's nothing compared to just the interest payment we pay annually. So Anyways, start going down a little road there.
Okay.
But anyways, just wanted to give a little more clarity on how Elon Musk is approaching this and how we need to bridge everyone over, and and how money itself will be gone lost in this transition.
Well, I mean, many thoughts come to mind, Steve, as you bring that up, and we touched on this towards the tail end of our last podcast, so maybe we can redress it now very quickly. The great antidote to this whole thing is, as President Trump has said, we're going to level the playing field with assets in the ground. Every country has them in various and sundry ways. You eliminate the private Western central bank. You tokenize with XRP on the blockchain. You connect that to all the foreign currencies we've talked about as part of vis-a-vis the global reset, and you allow every country to be nationalized on their own stable wealth, and they can back their currencies by whatever's in the ground: gold, silver, plutonium, nitrogen, nuclear fission in El Salvador's case, gold, on and on it goes. And it extricates itself from the U.S. hegemony, right? So there's all these great opportunities that we know are coming this year into, let's say, the next 3-4 years as we come to this wealth transfer. So there's and when you remove that interest, you remove all that bloated artificial debt. You create a lot of freedom for people, both from a nationalistic and a financial standpoint. So there's a lot of great ways that we can solution orient this process, which I know you would agree and are all an advocate of to do so, which is what we kind of educate our audience in that respect, as you know, which leads me sort of to another segue question, Steve. As we educate our audience to become their own private central bank by owning these assets and so forth, one of the ways you do that, as you know, is in land, which is going to become a very great source of freedom and also resources: oil, natural gas, natural water source. So one of the questions my team wanted me to ask you in that respect is, inquiring minds would like to know, in your opinion, what type of free energy devices would be applicable or usable for off-grid housing, and how do we get a hold of those in the near future?
Well, let's start with the first approach to your question. And this is supportive in what you're trying to move towards. The in-ground assets, they're not easily extractable. We know that you can get lithium everywhere in the world. The reason why you can get it out of China or South America is because you have the labor force at much significantly lower costs in order to do that extraction. It's the same with any type of rare earth minerals like you do over in China. I mean, when I had a company over there for doing slabs for housing, they were working roughly $50 a month. So, there's no doubt that the average, income for your low end worker over there is right now around $300 to $400 a month. And that, of course, they mix that in with the elites and they come up with a lot higher average. But if you do the work on it, you'll see. And so what we're finding out is those in-ground assets that are around the world that are accessible. This is where AI, AGI, and humanoids come into place. When you're talking about 3 years from now, you're talking about humanoids doing the grunt work, doing the labor 24/7, no vacations, no time off, no anything. And now you have access, because right now it's very expensive to extract rare earth minerals or even lithium or whatever it may be. And it's very energy intensive, just as much as, a desalination plant you can have everywhere. Why? Energy intensive. That's the reason why you don't have them everywhere. So this energy intensive will be replaced by automation, by humanoids doing the grunt work, the labor. They'll become stronger. We're talking about 3 years from now. Every month we see these things improving, like, 2 or 3 fold. It's absolutely mind blowing. So that is supportive in what you're saying, though, because ultimately we're going to extract those minerals, those resources, to improve upon everything that we're doing here today. We're going to take those rare elements that were so hard to find. You can find them everywhere, but can you have someone or some humanoid, some automation service that's going to be able to extract that, and people will have access to it. So yeah, I agree with you. In the fact that you need to act now on those resources, because when the humanoids and automation comes into play, it's not going to be a matter of which country we go to. It's going to matter about how many humanoids that we have that'll go in and extract that. So that's a big deal. And I think that reinforces what you were discussing. And your latter question was again?
Oh, just about. So one of the things thank you for that, by the way. One of the things we discuss with our audience is becoming their own central bank, right? And we discussed the financial mechanisms, but another component of that is owning land and getting those land, preferably if you can get resources on it that might have oil, natural gas, a spring water supply. If you were doing a survey on that to see what the land has to offer. So the question that we wanted to know, just to when we go back to it, is what type of free energy devices do you think will be available for off-grid housing, and how do we get a hold of that in the future, given its difficulty to obtain?
Right. Okay. So let's start with Bill Gates, first of all, is the largest private landowner in his accumulation in the last decade in the United States. He even said land is your future value. That's where the asset's going to be. And I've said that for about a decade as well. I said, last land and resources will be the last land grab, money grab in the world because we have one world. And as far as, 0 point energy, low energy nuclear reaction, with two companies that are looking to go commercial this year. And what's going to do is that's going to involve in a decentralization. Now, these are decentralized projects that are going on right now. And some of them are third-party validated, world-renowned physicists. So there's no voodoo, there's no goofiness going on here. These are really thought out, articles that I put out there in the research. That I visit the labs, I meet with the physicists, and I literally go around the world. ICCF conferences which hold 100 physicists at one time, talking about this new technology. And not too many people are fully aware of it because it's a large learning curve in physics when you start talking about things on the quantum level. Vacuum of space, waves into particles, particles into waves. So that technology being decentralized, you're talking about being able to go 100 miles out in the middle of nowhere and just like desalinations plants, they'll run them as well. You'll be able to go anywhere you want, anytime you want. There'll be portable devices. The larger ones are engineered in these companies, and that's going to be something that's going to leapfrog us into the world. So that's one of the three in the trifecta. That one will support humanoids that can keep running for up to, right at this point, they're looking at 5 to 10 years. You're looking at drones in the air for years and years. I mean, think about that. Um, so as these technologies progress, all three together, they're all leading the race. And everybody's trying to figure out, as a futurist, I can see where it's going. And as they all connect together, just talking about the 5 black boxes and the one large one from the
Mm-hmm.
NSA, they're all separate, but if they all come together at one time, the NSA is aware of it, and America's got to move fast. And so is the rest of the world. We do hold, I think, 3 of the 4 top companies in AGI, AI. So I would say that if you're looking at 0 point energy, low energy nuclear reaction, and the reason why they're two different, but they overlap each other, is they're both on the quantum level. That's how they interact. You get energy through LENR in some of these cases, like let's say Leonardo Corporation, from a lot of people question that from the vacuum of space, but we've validated everything that I'm speaking about. And if you want to know more about that, you can give my website at the end, or say my Substack, and
Mm-hmm.
people can read more in depth. They can look at the patents. They can see what's going on. So to answer your question, you're looking at, I would say this year, you can pre-order. I believe 2 companies, one Solidon you can pre-order right now. You can actually pre-order up to a megawatt. They look for manufacturing and distribution within the next 6 to 8 months. And I think within the next 6 months, as it leads up to that time period, you're going to see, the massive corporation that just came into them that is going to do it internationally. So as you know, and I'll say this, as the physicist stated, we'll start distribution this year and then we'll unleash hell. And it's not in a destructive way, it's more like disruptive way. And that is going to occur and it's going to accelerate every other technology out there. And humanoids will be one of them because he's going to charge them every 3 hours. And that, of course, will bleed into being able to extract more, whatever, as far as the elements and minerals. So you're probably looking at pre-orders this year. As you can pre-order them now. You're looking at distribution, manufacturing starting up probably in the next 3 to 4 months, distribution to start in the next 5 to 6 months, maybe 7 or 8. I just don't want to undershoot myself, but we're really looking at a paradigm shift. And that's why it all collects together with what Elon knows. He doesn't see the energy side so much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the thick of the energy side, cutting edge, and I see what the products are doing. and I see where they're going and how tens of millions are coming into them now because they're just going like, "Whoa, wait a minute." And of course, like I said, it all culminates together, as we see. And so to answer your question directly, pardon me, I'm just,
Okay.
very loquacious right now. Just came off 4 cups of coffee and another meeting. So
You're good. You're
we're,
good.
we're, we're talking about all of these culminating together, and it's just going to be utopia. But we're talking about me 3 to 5 years from now. That's why we won't need a White House. Everything will be run automated. We're talking about superior intelligence, even at general intelligence, to be able to be perfectly clear. Artificial general intelligence right now it is smarter than us. Even AI 3.5, 4.0, it's already smarter than us. You get on there and you start putting together formulas. I was doing a formula of crossover quantum mechanics with low energy nuclear reaction in order to drive some sort of formula out of it, which I had put on my Substack just to quantify it. And it's like lightning speed. It would take me literally 5 to 10 years to get to that point. So we're already leapfrogging. I mean, emails, articles. Mathematics, protein folding. CRISPR-Cas9 is now utilizing it, if you've heard of those. So genetically, we're now finding that we're already fast forwarding. And you're right, the elderly are going to find it very difficult to move over. But it's also going to be very difficult for a lot of people that don't get into at least land, rare earth minerals, elements,
Mhm.
or even, commodities, gold, maybe even silver will come back.
Silver.
We don't know. All of those will be an asset of something fundamental to hold on to because we have to be able to justify the buys of goods and services, and the fiat currencies have just diluted us beyond our faith. Then we're just going to be left holding the bag. A lot of people will be. And then it's like John Fresco, the bubble world, permaculture bubbles with people living in them and the other people living on the outside. So we have to be, I'm reaching a little bit there. I'm not looking for aliens, but I'm just giving you a perspective that people really, and I've said this 2 years ago when OpenAI came out 3.0 and went to 3.5, I said, that's it. I mean, we're off to the races. And anyways, don't want to prolong that
No, no,
explanation.
no, I appreciate the explanation. I mean, just on a very grassroots level, Steve, I'm just taking an extraction of what you said. Excuse me. I mean, you look at gold and silver, something everybody's familiar, God's money, going all the way back from the beginning of time. You touched earlier, you started this thesis with it's difficult to extract these uh, rare earth minerals and that humanoids will help contribute to the tenor of that, right? But you take gold and silver, not exactly easy to get. I mean, you can get it in certain countries with more ease, but you still have to refine it, cleanse it, purify it to get it to that 9999 stage. But then you have another issue going on at play, right? Even if you can afford to get it or in trace amounts, now because it's being ransacked, because we're going back to a gold standard vis-a-vis Trump and the constitutional republic, which you already know, you now have a delivery issue. Even if you can afford to get it, how long does it take to get it? It would be like if you went to a grocery store and they had all this milk in the display case, but if you don't, or their analogy would be if they have the dairy farmers, but to get that milk to the display case, to make it more precise, could take a week or whatever, as opposed to a daily process. Now you have a time against money issue, right? So delivery becomes as important as the affordability of it, is what I'm trying to say. And you take that exponentially out against some of these accessible uh, energies and frequencies for land and home use, is my point.
Yeah, when you start to, I had mining claims in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I remember going through that. But I can tell you that the delivery of it is right now. It's a matter of in-ground assets. It's contractual. Everybody wants to have a piece of what's in ground. So that foresight is, and Trump's doing that. We want in-ground assets. It's going to take a long time to get those assets out of Eastern Ukraine to start with. So yeah, why not agree to it? I would have agreed to what he said because either way you're looking at it, you've got to come in and fortify and start digging and bring in your military in order to, defend it. There's a lot involved in that. But everything as far as in-ground assets go, can you buy and sell it like, let's say, nickel or silver or gold? Most of them require a security key receipt, an SSR. Actually, excuse me, they require a security receipt from the bank. And in that receipt, that is warehoused gold. That's the only time they'll actually insure it, when they know that it's out of the ground, it's there, because in-ground assets have been the biggest, sale craze in the last, I don't know, 20 years. And,
Mhm.
a lot of joker brokers out there. Hey, we've got in-ground assets. It's worth $42 quadrillion. That doesn't really mean anything. So, but as far as extracting it, getting it out, that scarcity is something, that we even deal with oil today. Oil is still a scarcity. I mean, everything we do is kind of a scarcity in economics, but filling that scarcity is probably not going to happen for a long time, just because you do have to extract it. So you're probably looking at 5 to 10 years from now before you actually can extract so much of it where everybody has it. So it's going to be a scarcity. Scarcities that will be filled, though, will be energy, which I discuss. So you'll
Mhm.
have the energy to extract it, but it still will take time. I mean, you're talking about building an entire infrastructure to upscale in order to start extracting, gold, silver, nickel. I mean, you name it. I know I've been around, 20 years in Wall Street. That I've been around the market booms and busts, and seeing, certain minerals, certain elements, go up, go down. I mean, if you look at companies like solar companies, all of a sudden oil goes up and then you get a big boom for solar. Oil collapses and then solar companies all collapse too. So everything's interconnected, is what I'm trying to get to. And so I would say that the good thing about rare earth minerals or commodities that you're speaking about is that you do have to have something of exchange in order to justify the sale of goods and services. And if you have the humanoids pulling it out of the ground 5 to 10 years from now at a rapid pace, those are the things that are going to linger for a long time. Because, as you said, it goes back to the Egyptian era, even back further than that. Gold, 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 you name it, Greece.
Mhm.
So it's one of those attractions that you cannot duplicate. You can't go out and just start making your own. Trying to recreate diamonds, but
Right.
the original diamond is still the purpose of it being, crushed for 2,000 years. It's not just because you recreated something else and now I have that diamond. The reason why we have artwork. So, long story short, I feel that, elements, rare earth minerals, they are going to be a commodity for a long time, because we do need that medium. We do need that currency for the costs of goods and services. So it'll be real estate, gold, silver, whatever the rare earth element. Could be lithium. It could be anything that we find we need in abundance as we move forward.
Sure. No, absolutely. And that's why I was trying to draw a parallel to that. And I appreciate you kind of helping bridge the gap. We could go on, obviously, on these conversations protracted for hours, but we want to be able to maximize the attention span of both our respective audiences. So I think the last question I want to lead with you today, or end with rather, is you talked a little bit about, and I showed it on your Substack, about different components with relation to Elon Musk, with relation to LENR and so forth, and that would be people hear about it a lot. We know about it, Chat GPT and other AI communication devices, but because we're dealing with a vast audience, both sides of different age groups, they hear Chat GPT and it's kind of a throwaway thing, but there's more to it than that. Can you kind of articulate about why Chat GPT is so important, what it helps to serve, and what do you think will abut it or follow it going forward as technologies continue to move at such an accelerated pace?
Well, as I said, it's not just ChatGPT. It's the five black boxes, the top companies that have all their own LLM technologies. And where does that go to? Well, they just keep leapfrogging each other. DeepSeek leaped, 3.0, and then next thing you know, they're out, instead of making it a scarcity and rationing it out to you, Sam Altman at OpenAI came out and said, hey, we got to give this, we got to give that away because you can get it from DeepSeek for nothing over here. And that's what's going to keep happening with technology, and it's going to keep improving. Its growth, as far as with Elon Musk, and once he hears about the first commercial product of the 0 point energy or low energy nuclear reaction. You know, it's a lot of names that are given to it: quantum hydrogen by Clean Planet, electron capture by Brillouin Energy. Brillouin Energy, another third-party verified, world-renowned physicists have validated their more energy out there. So as we keep leapfrogging, and Elon Musk sees this occurring, and that's why you hear him going like, well, I'm kind of scared on the other side. Where's the dark side of this? We really don't know. I can tell you though that if a bad actor comes in and start utilizing a humanoid that can run around for weeks at a time, almost indestructible, well, yeah, I can see where that's a major problem. I don't like my neighbor. Hey, there, Waldo, go take care of him. Um, so yeah, that's an issue. So as far as the capsulate this, we know that as we move forward, that AGI, which is maturing right now, will find ASI, and in that it will solve every problem we have. Not that we can't create more problems with the resolve or the scarcities that are solved by AGI or 0 point energy or low energy reaction. That energy in itself is capable of filling what 80% of everything we do is energy. I have actually put out an article here recently about the costs of energy. I mean, we're talking about 15 trillion a year in energy costs, but yet profits, corporates internationally, are 10.5 trillion. It's because we're borrowing against our future in order to create, in order to do, all types of alternative energies right now. So as we find ourselves in more of a circle of deficit death, and that is going to have to be reset. And I think that maybe what Trump is doing is going to cause that to happen a lot faster. So just count your numbers, be involved in AI and what it's doing, AGI. Not enough people are. It is really the bigger elephant in the room when they're up there in the government, and those guys know it, and they can see it, and some of them like control, and some of them, and in his grandiose way. I can't say Elon Musk is wrong either, because maybe he knows something that I don't know, or maybe I know something he doesn't know, like with the LENR. But I think the path he's taken could have been, it could be less worn, because we have a bridge. Let's reinforce it. Let's take us over, and and Elon's ultimate utopia, as he said, after a few years of pain, will be utopia for everyone. Let's just make sure that our egos, our values, are instilled not just in ourselves and our children. Let's make sure they're instilled into this technology that's eventually going to be superior to us, and make sure that that is watched heavily, because
Yeah,
security is a big deal. And if we're
100%.
not, and those international associations that are like the social income you discussed. So I'll be real quick. Social income, Elon Musk, excuse me, Sam Altman's been talking about that for 3 years now. So, and they've got a program they're putting together to figure out how to do social income. Elon Musk wants social income, that higher level that you discussed. So that, do we really want to be, but maybe the utopia will make it better for everyone. But until that time comes, it's all speculative on which way it goes. Are there going to be bad AI, good AI? Should we accumulate assets, in-ground assets? Well, I think that's the only thing that we can feel, touch, and see right now, and
Mhm.
that is land, commodities, minerals, rare elements. Those are the things that make up everything around us, and thanks to physicists, that that's the one solid thing you can look at. And this isn't me just giving you a flag, but
Mhm.
to run with, but I'm just being very candid with you.
Right.
So luckily I've been spot on for the last few years about every development, even the acceleration of AGI and AI and the land right now. It's going to start, people are going to start skirmishing more for land, and it's going to be more and more and more, because as we grow, especially the people that grow their egos, and that are in control, will keep growing, because power wants more, it wants more control, wants more. So anyways,
No, absolutely. Thanks to the physicists and the Lord who made the physicists and made the rare earths for them to be able to facilitate, right?
there you go.
And all this is about proactivity to help our audiences respectively have the knowledge base of proficiency and then take actionable results to put themselves in a winning position to minimize that pain and actually maximize us winning and crossing the finish line together. And we don't, and I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole because we don't have the time, but you don't want to have a situation like you said with security whereby we have like because you have Hollywood with predictive programming. You go back to the movie I, Robot in 2004, where everybody had an in-house robot, and then all of a sudden they were fighting their own robot was combating them. We don't want to get into that situation, so we need to be very astutely aware of that, to your point.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up today, Steve, and I'll show it as you're talking, your website, if people want to invest or they just want to learn more about your company, how can they go about doing that, please?
Well, let me be clear. One, we're talking about Substack. Substack is a subscription service that we do
Right.
put out there for everyone, and that's done by our company, New Fire Energy. We're a private equity fund. We support cutting edge energy technologies. Our
Okay.
objective is to get as much money into these companies to launch them as fast as possible. That'll make people more, well, say, democratizing energy makes people more equal, makes people feel more as a part of everything when you're taking that gratuitous money and you're able to apply it, more to your lifestyle instead of going through the large, electrical grid, the black hole.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, that's New Fire Energy. We actually promote this Substack, and you can go to newfireenergy.substack.com. There's a lot of good articles in there. We've got some good writers, and we find that we're touching on the change of what's about to occur here and being a little more in tune to it. Very important. As far as the private equity side, we are a private equity fund. We take in funds and we diversify them amongst the top companies that are in the low energy reaction, quantum, 0 point energy field, which
Mm-hmm.
all, like I said, all overlap and relate. And we take those funds and we diversify them amongst, we do that solely as an equity fund just because we don't know which company's first. But one company comes out, they're all going to follow. But at the same time, we just want to, focus on a select few of the top one companies. And when the money drop occurs, well, then obviously that's going to be huge. In my 20 years of Wall Street, I've seen that happen over and over and over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely encourage folks to take a look at the website, which we'll leave a link as always in the description. Steve Previch, CEO of New Fire Energy. Thank you, good sir, for your knowledge and your time, more importantly. And we appreciate it. We'll look forward to having you on again in the near future. Take care and God bless for now.
Thank you, John. You too. Bye.